Rightio, we're here. How's it going? Yarns, Beef and Matt. I'm Matt.
And I'm Beef.
And today we have the one and only Rogan Dean. How are you, mate?
Nice. Good, thanks, guys. Yourselves?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much for coming on. Episode number 5.
Yeah.
How good. Fuck, we're rolling. How you getting on, mate? How's the prep for the games going?
Just coming along. Sort of getting close now. I think I fly out to Vermont on Monday, so 3 more days away, I think.
Oh, shortly, yeah.
Got about 2.5 weeks of training with the HWPO team, and then I'll head to Madison from there and ready to go.
Unreal.
Yeah, that's fucking on. We just had Jake Douglas on the other day, so you'll be teeing up with him, no doubt.
Yeah, he was half the reason I was heading over there. I was chatting to him. My partner and I was chatting to him about sort of times he was looking at heading over and that, and he said he was heading to Vermont to finish his prep off. Obviously, he's already part of the HWPO team, so he sort of floated the idea on coming over, and then before we knew it, we extended the trip another 2 weeks to head there first.
It'd be fucking good though. Like, he was saying that the volume and all that is just next level. So yeah, it should be a good time. Yeah,
he gave me a heads up. He said, just beware, the first week's going to be pretty brutal. He said, obviously, you get there, you're adjusting to the jet lag and the humidity, and then you're straight into, like you said, a brutal training load. So the first week's a bit rough.
Yeah.
He was telling us first workout and I sort of Matt Watson and was like all alpha.
What did he say? He goes to him, you better hold that bike over 605 watts. So he sends it to like 900 watts, and Matt's like, fucking, like, calm down. Anyway, yeah, we normally start these things off like before CrossFit, so how you grew up and all that kind of stuff, or where you grew up and how you...
Yeah, actually, before you hook in, bro, you're a Kiwi?
Yeah, I was born and bred in Rotorua.
Yeah, in the Vegas, mate. Fucking sick.
Yeah, me sort of... Yeah, all my mum and dad, my siblings were all from New Zealand originally. Born in Rotorua. Moved over to Australia when I was about 3-4 years old, so I was pretty young. So mum and dad packed up the whole family and moved us all over here, and I grew up, sort of did all my schooling and stuff in Grasstree Beach and Mackay, sort of up in North Queensland.
Oh, yep.
And then I was always into, like, rugby league was always my sport of choice. That's what I grew up sort of playing, and I played that for about 20 years. Yeah. That was up until August 2020 was when I ended up having a motorbike accident. And, had my sort of left foot amputated. And then from there, my partner was the one who got me into CrossFit, and then that sort of led me to where I am now.
The rest is history, eh?
Yeah, so just touching on your league career, you grew up in Rotorua, so avid Warriors fan? Is that what we're getting from?
Yeah.
Up the wall.
As hard as it is,
Are you actually a Warriors fan?
Yeah, I'm a Warriors fan.
Oh, yes, boy. Up the wires. Here we go.
You're making a lot of people happy back home.
This is one of the good years. It's been a painful last few years.
Yeah. I remember when they were in their last grand final. Oh, I can't remember who did an ad. It's like, you got to lose one to win one. I was like, fucking don't say that, man. We know how
it didn't work. We lost the first one and lost the second one.
So anyway, it's our year. Anyway, so league, obviously it was a massive part of your growing up. So how did you got to a pretty high level, Ipswich Jets, this is as far as I know, but...
So I played... I obviously played like all through my schooling and stuff. Straight out of school, I moved to Townsville. Yep. And I spent a few years playing for the Cowboys in their under-20s system.
Oh, nice.
And then from there, once I finished up in the under-20s, I moved down to Brisbane. I think my first year I signed with Wynnum Manly, and I played Queensland Cup there, and then moved on to Norths, where I played another, I think, four years Queensland Cup there, and then I took a bit of a break where I had 2 years off, and then eventually went out to Ipswich and played another season out there in the Queensland Cup. And then it was my second year at Ipswich was when when COVID came in and all the footy seasons were cancelled. And then later on that year when the accident itself happened. So that was the end of my footy days.
Yeah. I suppose that it leads you on to that exact. Yeah, your career did get cut short pretty quickly overnight, you could say. Do you want to talk us through that day, the leading up to the motorcycle accident? Yeah,
so that obviously with the footy season being canned, I had a lot more sort of spare time on my hands, and a mate of mine, because like I've sort of always been into motorbikes. I've ridden motorbikes since I was a little kid, and a mate of mine had just bought a new Harley, and he'd rode over to where I was staying, and we thought we'd just go for a bit of a Sunday ride. So we both jumped on the Harleys, and we'd been out for the day, sort of cruising around. We'd ridden out to sort of Sandgate, out to Redcliffe, sort of a couple of the beaches, and then we're heading home sort of around lunchtime that day. And I was about like 2 or 3 minutes from home, and I was coming down one of the main roads through Brisbane, and there was a guy who came off pulled out of a side street, and he wanted to cut across sort of both lanes of the main road and didn't see me coming. And so when he pulled out, he sort of T-boned me on the left-hand side.
Far out.
And then it sort of, like crushed my foot between the car and the bike and sort of sent me sort of cartwheeling across the bitumen for a bit. And and then from there, I sort of, at first I didn't really notice my foot. I sort of, when I finally stopped tumbling along the road, I sort of stopped and sat up, and at first all I noticed was I had a heap of gravel rash on my arms, and I was thinking like, shit, I got out of that pretty lucky.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I tried to, like when I went to stand up, then I put that leg down, it just didn't feel right, and that's when I looked down and saw that it had sort of crushed and severed all of my foot.
Yeah. Oh man.
So,
what's the initial reaction?
Yeah, like in full-on shock, or?
It definitely, like when I looked down and saw it, I was like, shit, like what am I going to do now? Like this is pretty gruesome. And but I was lucky in a way with the car behind me who saw it all was a paramedic on her way to work.
Oh shit, hot. So
yeah. She was like straight out of the car, had everything under control, had an ambulance coming, and sort of that definitely helped keep me a bit calmer, having someone sort of someone like her to keep it all under control. And then it was sort of, I was just sitting there. At first it sort of didn't really, like, the pain wasn't too bad in the first sort of few minutes. It was more of, I think that was like the shock sort of that sort of like it was sort of distracting me from it. And then I remember just sitting there thinking like, shit, like for her car, I was praying like, can't I just go into shock and just pass out? Like just wake me up when it's done.
It's all over.
But no, I was awake for the whole thing, and eventually like the pain started to set in when we were waiting for the ambulance, and it got pretty like, it just felt like someone was holding my foot over a fire, like it was just burning. But then I just eventually got in the ambulance and got raced to hospital, and ended up having to have a few sort of surgeries. And from there, like before I went into the first surgery, the surgeon come in and he said, look, there's less than a 1% chance of being able to save your foot. Like it doesn't look good. So he said, well, we'll go in and just see what we can do. So that was the first surgery, was they just went in and pretty much just assessed sort of what they could do, and tidied it all up. And there was they were unable to save my foot. They just sort of tidied up the wounds and that, and left it sort of where it was, and that was sort of just above my ankle was where it had been sort of crushed.
Yeah.
And then when I came out of that surgery, that's when they gave me the option. They said, look, like we're unable to save your foot, obviously, but they said you've got sort of two options. We can sort of leave it where it is, and we can try and sort of skin graft and sort of formalize the bottom of your leg where it is, and that way you'd only have to wear like a prosthetic foot. And they said in terms of like looking normal, it won't really stand out too much, and you probably wouldn't really notice it too much. But there's not a lot you can do on it. So, like, you wouldn't be able to run on it. You wouldn't be able to lift sort of heavy weights and stuff on it. And then they said, your second option is we go back into surgery again, and we can cut a bit more of your leg off up to the sort of mid shin, and that'll mean you have to wear a prosthetic leg, which will stand out obviously a lot more than just a foot, but that'll open up a lot more sort of options to, like, you'll be able to run, you'll be able to weightlift, you'll be able to pretty much do everything you could do beforehand, you'll be able to do again with a prosthetic leg. So that was, for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like,
give me
the way I looked at it, I'd much rather live close to normal life as possible rather than just trying to look normal. So I opted straight away to have a bit more cut off, and so in the next couple of days I had to go in for that surgery, and that's pretty much the accident sort of summed up.
Far out, that's nuts. Yeah, it would be easy for a lot of people to sort of, like, in that moment or in the months afterwards, I'd say, turn your back on the world and just sort of be like, why me? I can sort of see, even sort of reliving the day for you, you're still, like, really positive about it. How do you have such a positive mindset around it all?
I think, like, definitely a big part of it was the support group I had around me. Like, I got a lot of sort of beautiful friends and family that were always there for me through the whole thing of it, which definitely, like, throughout the whole process, which definitely helped. But I don't know, I think I've always been a bit of a stubborn bastard to myself. Like, it's sort of, to me, I sort of, like, very early on, I just viewed it as it's just a hurdle that you got to jump over type thing. It's not the end of the world. I could have, it could have been easy to sit around and feel sorry for myself and let that be the end of the world. But it's, I don't know, to me, the way I looked at it is that it could have been a lot worse, and there's plenty more I'm still able to do. And sort of the way I bounce back from it's in my hands. I can either dwell on it or I can just move on with it, and which is what I've chose to do.
Yeah, you can let it define you, or it can just be just another chapter, and we just keep moving forward.
When the doctor first came and said, like, hey, we might not be able to save your foot, how do you react to that? That's life-changing straight away.
Yeah, I'd pretty much already, like, without sort of 100% confirming, but I'd pretty much already had the idea that I don't think they're going to be able to save us. After seeing it sort of at the accident scene, I was like, shit, like, that does not look good. But, like, obviously, like, in that moment, I wasn't thinking about, like, all I was thinking was, shit, like, I need to get to hospital. Having the surgeon come in and say that, it was definitely, at the time, all I could think was, like, just do what you have to do to fix it type thing. Like, sort of just, I think it was just getting over that initial shock of the whole thing. It was just, I'm in the hospital now, like, I left it in their hands, like, sort of do it. As long as you do what you do to fix it, I'm happy type thing.
Well, I can't. The other thing I wanted to say was, so they had to cut it off more up your leg so you could get more function out of it. Like, I have no idea about this, but I would have thought having more leg there is more muscle mass, so you would be able to do more. Like, what's the?
It all depends. Like, it depends on how well they can attach the like the prosthesis to, like, the prosthetic too. So with a prosthetic foot, if it's just the foot, that's pretty much, it's like the end of the, like, your ankle pretty much just sitting in, like, a little socket, and they can't really attach it too well.
Okay.
So when you go into having a prosthetic leg like I've got now, you've got that pretty much that entire bit of like what is left of your leg. They call that, like, your stump. You can fit that entire thing into a socket now. So it's got a lot more sort of purchase sort of area that it can sort of be attached to. And it also opens up a bit more room. So underneath that socket, they can attach sort of better prosthetic feet. So ones that have got, like, a bit of a carbon blade in it to give you a bit of like a bit of shock absorption and a bit of like reactive force and that through it and stuff like that. And those take up like they're a bit higher than a normal prosthetic foot.
Right.
So it opens up a range of better technology to be able to fit to a leg rather than just a foot.
Yeah, functionality be huge for you as well, being like athlete your whole life.
Yeah.
Did you ever like go to a really dark place during that whole process?
It definitely had some tough days. I think like the first couple of days, it wasn't too bad. I was sort of coming to terms with it, and I had heaps of sort of my friends and family all up in the hospital and stuff like that with me. And then it was a couple of days after that, there was another COVID sort of outbreak in Brisbane. And so they went into a complete lockdown, which meant no visitors or anything in the hospital. So that's for a couple of days, I was just sitting up there by myself all day, every day, and not really being able to sleep. And then it's that was when, for me personally, I thought like the best thing for me to do is to get out of hospital, like, because being around my friends and family was keeping me in a lot better headspace than sitting up there by myself all day.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that's where I told the doctors the next day, I said, like, well, I want to get out of here. And they're like, well, you can't at the moment, because I've got like, at the time I had all these machines hooked up to me. Like I had a vacuum seal on the bottom of my leg, which was like sort of that would like suck away all the sort of the blood and stuff that would still be seeping out of it. And I had like all these different sort of drips in my arms, one for antibiotics, one for pain relief, and had a catheter in, like for all that sort of stuff. I had all these machines hooked up, and they said like you can't go anywhere while you've got all this on you. And I just said, well, I want to take like get rid of it all. I said like if it's just for if one of them's just for antibiotics, I'll just take them orally, and if the other ones are like all the ones that had on me for pain relief, I said honestly they're doing bugger all.
I'm still in pain.
Yeah, like I'm sitting here in like pretty bad pain all day, every day. So I said they're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And so they said, look, like we'll over the next couple of days we'll gradually take one off at a time. So yeah, over the next few days they took the pain relief ones away, and then the next day they came in, they took the antibiotic one out, and then one by one got rid of all the machines. I think the last one to go was the catheter, and they said we'll take that out. And they said, and then you've got 12 hours to piss. If you don't pee in 12 hours, it's like they're going to have to put it back up, and you're not going anywhere.
Nope.
Pressure's on.
So yeah, they took that out, and then I just started sculling water, and within an hour I was pissing. So I was like, that's it. That's the last machine. I'm out of here. So yeah, they ended up getting. I booked a room across the road from the hospital, just in a hotel there. So I was because I still had to go back to the hospital every day for appointments and stuff. So, but at least staying there, I was able to have like my family and stuff around me, because like my mum and sister and that had flown down from Mackay to come and see me, but they couldn't get into the hospital to see me. So that's why we ended up just staying in a hotel, so that we could at least have some support around me. And then I'd just have to duck across the road each day for my appointments. So that was probably the only real that was probably the hardest days of the whole thing, was those 3 or 4 days in hospital where I was up there by myself with no visitors, and that was the only time I really caught myself sort of slipping a bit and starting to dwell on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I got out of hospital and I sort of had my support network around me, I started to train again. Like I was up on the crutches, and I could still go and sort of lift some weights and some sort of physical activity. That definitely helped as well, sort of doing stuff that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Back to it. Obviously the injury brought a pretty abrupt end to the league career, but is there days you miss it?
Yeah, I definitely still miss it. I think because I didn't get to it was because I didn't get to retire on my terms. It was like, I still thought I had another good couple of years of competitive sort of rugby league in me, and then to have that sort of cut short when I feel like I was playing the best I had been. That definitely hurt a bit. And then, but in saying that, CrossFit's definitely been like a savior in being able to feel that competitive side that I sort of wasn't quite finished with yet. Like I always like to have something that I can sort of feel like that I can have that competitive sort of outlet, and it's something that challenges me and keeps me sort of motivated in training. I've always like needed something like that, and with not being able to play footy anymore, CrossFit's been perfect for that.
Yeah, were you doing CrossFit as a form of training beforehand anyway, or was it brand new?
No, so I've always been like sort of right into my health and fitness. I've always like outside of footy, I've always loved, I've always stuck to a really good gym program and stuff like that, and always done a lot of running and cycling. I've always been into health and fitness itself, but never really CrossFit. I've done a lot of weights training, but I'd never really done a lot of CrossFit specific training. That wasn't until I met my fiance not long after my accident that she suggested, because she was doing CrossFit as part of her training, and she's like, oh, maybe like you should give this a go. Like you'd be pretty good at it because you're pretty strong and fit. And and then so she sort of wrote me into it, and I got addicted pretty quickly. And
as you do.
Where were you training when you started out CrossFit? What gym were you at then?
So we were just training out of home, really.
Okay,
Like my partner, who was one of her friends, she had like a home gym set up, which she ran a bit of a business out of, and it was like a CrossFit style gym. So I just started doing a few sessions there, and that was that sort of got me hooked onto it. And then we eventually set up a gym at our house, so we've got a full gym set up at home now that I do most of my training out of as well. And then but now I sort of split between training out of home and training out of CrossFit Anchor, where that's where my trainer partner Beck Glenna, so she owns that gym and trains out of there, so I go get a few sessions in there as well.
Oh, nice, man.
I'm sure you get a lot of praise for what you've been through, man, but it's pretty phenomenal how you've managed to come out the other end. Just before we leave the league chat, too early, go the Maroons.
Oh, fuck.
I back the Maroons.
Yeah.
I've sort of grown up in Queensland. I don't get too invested into it. Like if the Maroons lose, I'm not too like. So I support them, but I'm not too invested. I'm more like I get more invested into the Kiwis and the Test matches, and that's where I really get into it.
Fair play.
We're gonna get so. Jake nearly hung up the phone the other day because he's going on about the Maroons and he's from fucking Townsville.
Just let him know we're sweeping them next week.
Anyway, moving on from the league. What were we talking about? Training. Yeah, sweet. So you got into CrossFit, you got hooked on it. When did you realise that you could actually take this to like a games level?
Well, believe it or not, like my first ever like CrossFit session was the CrossFit Open in 2021, because I didn't know anything about sort of the Open and how it all worked and that. Like I'd always like sort of half followed CrossFit like years ago, like just because I just respect like athletes for what they do. So I'd always like thought CrossFit's pretty cool, but I had no idea on like how the seasons work and how you qualify for the games and all that sort of stuff. My partner, she's like, because when she first got into it, she's like, oh, look, like you should give CrossFit a go. And she's like, hey, like the Open's actually like starting this week, and this is the first year that they're including like an adaptive division, which you'd be able to qualify for and that. And so I was like, oh, I'll give it a go.
You're all right.
And, so I went down and like I got through all the workouts. Like I was like horrible, but like I'm there doing like strict pull-ups and strict chest to bars, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to kip or anything. And it wasn't my bet. Like it was in terms of CrossFit. Like we look back now at videos of it because you had to video all your workouts, and we laugh at it of like how fucking stupid I looked doing a CrossFit workout.
80 strict pull-ups.
We ordered that.
And I ended up finishing. I think I finished 11th or 12th that year.
Yep.
Wow.
And they only take the top 5 in the world to the games. But I thought, like, after that, that's when I thought, like, shit, like, if I finished that, like, if I finished sort of that well and not knowing what the hell I was doing, I thought if I spent the next 12 months, like, sort of dedicating my training to CrossFit itself, and then I thought after 12 months I'll have another run at it and see if I can make it to the games.
Yep.
And yeah, that's in. So yeah, for the next 12 months after that, that's all I did. I just stripped right back to the basics. I learned how to kip and started all the CrossFit movements themselves, learned double unders, started focusing on the Olympic lifting, and just focused all of my sort of training strictly towards CrossFit. And then in 2022, when the Open that rolled around, I was feeling in a lot better shape. I sort of had a better understanding of what I was doing. And and then I ended up qualifying for the games in 2022. I think I finished 3rd in the semis, and then I ended up going to the games and finishing 2nd overall.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And then that's only, like, I was stoked with it, but, like, at the same time I was like, fuck, like, I was so close to winning it. So I was like, imagine if I go spend another 12 months focusing even more into it. Hopefully I can come back the next year and try and win it, which is the goal for this year.
Yeah.
I think you're on track. Just talking about your 2nd place there, I had a few questions on your prosthetics. So obviously you got into CrossFit. Is there prosthetics you've got now that you've had to tailor make for your training, or they?
So the one I've got that I do probably 99% of my training in is it's a pretty sort of like a well-rounded one. I can do pretty much every movement in it. The only time I change it is to I have like a separate leg for running, which is like a proper running blade.
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah,
that I'll run in. Like, I can run in my other leg, but if it's short distance stuff, I'll get away with it. But it takes a lot more energy to run in it, because there's no, like, obviously there's no calf muscle or ankle or anything anymore. So when you run in it, there's it's a lot more sort of glute and sort of hip work, so that it's just more taxing. But then, yeah, when I put the running blade on, that gives you like a bit more sort of reactive sort of force through the spring in it. So it kind of imitates having a calf muscle there again.
Right.
So it makes running a lot smoother and a lot closer to it would be having 2 legs still. So I do 99% of my training all in the one leg, and then I've got the running leg that I'll switch out to if there's a higher volume in the workout.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I ask is because you touched on it on that Grind to Greatness series, that you were in that swim and you said it was acting like an anchor.
Oh.
That's not that, bro. Yeah, is there like a prosthetic that can, I don't know, act more buoyant, or I don't know?
Well, like, ideally when I swim, like, I just take my leg off, because they're just dead weight. So when you swim, you just take them off.
But you had to ski in that event, didn't you? Yeah.
But yeah, that event, we sort of had to jump out at the end of the pool and get on the ski erg and stuff. And I sort of contemplated, like, sort of whether it would be worth taking it off, and then I'd just have to hop over to the ski erg and ski on one leg, and then sort of hop back to the pool. But
yeah,
like, at that stage, because I'm a terrible swimmer. Like, that's something I really need to improve on.
Right.
And at that stage, I was thinking, regardless of what I do, that whole event was all about sort of damage control. Like, I know I'm not gonna, I'm gonna struggle in the water regardless. So I thought I'll just leave the leg on, and at least that way it'll be a bit better on the ski erg. But that was the first time I'd swum with a prosthetic leg on, and it was fucking terrible. Like, I didn't realize how heavy they get in the pool. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it did make me laugh, man. Going on from that, you don't have to expand on this, but what qualifies for your adapted division? How much of your leg needs to be missing? Can you we just don't know the ins and outs of your division. It's
kind of there's been a lot of sort of controversy around the adapted division.
Yeah, especially this past year.
Yeah, about sort of because I think like last year there was issues around people that like obviously still had like they still had disabilities. They're not taking that away from people, but they're what they've brought in this year was like a minimum impairment requirement. So they're not saying like, look, you're not disabled enough, but they're saying like, we acknowledge you've got a disability, but we don't see it as sort of, it doesn't meet our minimum impairment requirements, which is the road they've taken this year, which has caused a lot of controversy but like, I don't know, it's hard to keep everybody happy because last year there was all the controversy around people with injuries that weren't really severe enough out there beating people who had like sort of more severe sort of impairments, and then CrossFit sort of tightened that up this year and tried to make it a bit fairer. And now you got the people who used to be able to qualify, but now they've been told they don't meet the minimum requirement. Now they're not happy, and so there's a lot of sort of drama around it. But they've brought out a minimum impairment requirement for all the divisions, and for my division, it's you just have to have like a lack of like obviously like a part of your limb missing. So if you've got any sort of amputation and stuff, it's pretty straightforward. But then there's other sort of impairments where if you have sort of lack of range of motion through your limb or a differential in power output and stuff like that, that's where it starts to get a few sort of grey areas.
Yeah, watching over in Torian, because like I was inside. I really was only watching the inside stuff, but you guys had an event inside, and just from looking at the stands, it was obvious you had a prosthetic. I wish I remember this guy's name, but he was next to you and he had a knee brace on, and I was sort of wondering. I was like, well, I don't know his disability, so it was
so that particular guy, he got told so his eligibility got denied by CrossFit, so they said that like they acknowledge that yes, you do have a physical impairment, however it does not meet the minimum sort of impairment requirement to be eligible for the lower extremity at the games. But then on the other hand, there's like another guy who has qualified this year who's still got both legs as well, but he's got limited range of motion through his ankle and stuff like that. So I don't quite know the full ins and outs, but there's like some people have been told like yes, other people have been told no. I just know for myself and a couple of the other guys that have got prosthetic legs and that, it's pretty. There's no real grey areas. It's like you're missing half your leg, so it's quite easy.
You could see there'd be like a lot of red tape and the big grey area around it. But I suppose it is all done on the agenda of just making it an even playing field. I suppose they're just trying their best.
Like if you wanted to, like if they really wanted to make it like a full legitimate sort of sort of to make it a fair playing field, and you'd have to adapt something like the Paralympics, where they've got hundreds and hundreds of different categories, so that people with a below the knee amputation are only competing against people with below knee amputations and stuff like that. But in doing that, you end up with so many different categories that it would have to become its own event itself. So it wouldn't be logistically possible to have it attached to the CrossFit Games if you're going to try and throw in 100 other categories. It just becomes too much.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to run it at the same time as the pro individuals, the teams, and their age groups. Matt Torres was actually saying on one of his that like he would prefer it if it was two separate. You had your pro individuals and your teams, and then you had a separate one where it was your age groups and your adaptive. So it was, I don't know, what would your thoughts on that be? So it's not happening at the same time, it's two separate events.
I personally like it the way it is. Because I don't know, I still view myself and like a lot of the other athletes as we're still elite athletes for our division. We're still an elite athlete. So I I think separating the events would kind of take away from that.
Mm.
And I think, and the whole idea of it is to sort of CrossFit showing that they are all inclusive, like is the whole aim of it. Like CrossFit is for everybody. And I think if you were to start separating it, it kind of, to me, this is just my personal like point of view, I think it takes away from that. I think in keeping it together is more inclusive rather than separating it.
Yeah, it'd be like
And
you're no longer competing at the CrossFit Games. It's
Yeah.
But then again, like on the flip side, like you'd obviously be able to expand the adaptive sport a hell of a lot more by having its own separate event. But there's already other competitions out there. Like I think I haven't sort of looked into them too much because I sort of just focus my season on the CrossFit Games. But there's also like wheel wad and stuff like that, which are solely exclusive sort of adaptive competitions and stuff like that. And I know they have a few more categories. So they have they'll have a lower extremity minor impairment and then a lower extremity and stuff like that, which kind of helps separate it a little bit more. But so like there's still other platforms out there that do provide more opportunities for adaptive athletes. But I just think the CrossFit Games, it's like as much as it is for the elite individuals, it's only the best of the best that make it there. And then like the way I view it for the adaptive stuff, it's the best of the adaptive athletes who make it there as well. Like not everybody is going to make it there. Like you have to sort of earn your spot.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
That's everyone else's thoughts on it. How do you see the adaptive division going forward? Do you even care about if it changes, or what's sort of like your vision of it?
Like I sort of moving forward, I'd just like to I'd like to see it stay as part of the sort of like the same event. And like I touched on earlier, it's kind of like it is for all the elite individuals and like it is for the masters and age divisions and stuff like that. Like one, you have to be good enough to make it there, and two, you have to meet the requirements. Like it's kind of like you don't like for the masters athletes, it's like you have to be this age or older, otherwise you're not masters. And it's the same. Like it's I think it's the same. I know it's not as easy for the adaptive division, but I think in a way that CrossFit can still keep it logistically possible and as fair as possible, I think the road they've gone down, I think personally is probably the best way. Like they have like the sort of the way they've made it like there's a minimum impairment requirement. So like they're not, in no way are they telling people that like you don't have a disability or you're not disabled enough for our competition. It's just saying like for the sake of the way they're running their adaptive division, that like there's a minimum impairment requirement. So it doesn't, and that separates people from someone who might just have a very minor injury being able to go out and compete against somebody who might be missing an arm or missing a leg. It's like it keeps it fair, and it I think the way they're doing it is right. I know there's a lot of people who disagree, but yeah, that's just my opinion. I think the way they're doing it is right. It's sort of they're keeping it fair and still making it possible to keep it part of the same event.
Essentially, their whole goal is to find the fittest on earth, and there's a minimum work requirement for your individual males. So I can see what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and it is worth noting that like these are just our opinions, and CrossFit's always going to do what they feel is best for their their sport. So
like that, like there's I don't know, like there's some people like yes, you might have like you might have a slight impairment and stuff like that, but it's more like it would be fairer for you to compete against a fully able person than it would be against somebody missing a limb or something, because like on a grand scale of things, your impairment mightn't be that bad. Like it's kind of, and I know it's hard to tell someone who might think it's unfair on them, but I think it's more about just sort of they sort of have a look at where your impairment would be and what are you closer to? Are you closer to somebody missing a leg, or are you closer to somebody with 2 legs? It's kind of I don't know. It's there's a lot of debate around it.
Yeah, there always will be. It's just the way it's going to be.
I almost don't like the sort of putting you in the category of an adaptive or non-fully abled, because I'd say that you're probably more able than a large majority of the population.
I watched you do a 135 kg thruster. And I was like, I can never fucking touch that.
Well, outside of the games, like, because like me personally, I'm always looking to sort of to push myself to like to my physical limits and to the like as hard as I physically can. So I'm looking for the biggest challenges and stuff that's going to bring the best out of me. And outside of the like the CrossFit Games, I don't compete in like adaptive stuff. Like I compete in fully able competitions. I like to push myself against all the fully able people, because that's, to me, that's a bigger achievement to go out there and prove that I can still throw down with fully able people. Obviously I still like I do the adaptive stuff for the games because it's like it's an awesome opportunity for me to get to the CrossFit Games and actually get to be in the same place where you've got the fittest people in the world all competing. Which is an awesome platform to get the adaptive people there as well. But yeah, like outside of the CrossFit Games, I'd rather challenge myself in fully able competitions.
That's fucking cool.
Do you ever have like that chip on your shoulder, like this is fully an assumption of, I'm assuming people like might come in and just see you've got 1 leg and they're like, oh, good on you, still giving it a go. Do you ever have that chip on your shoulder, like, I'll dust you up?
You do some, like it's sort of, you do get it a little bit where people still like you said, like they'll come in and they'll severely underestimate your abilities just because they're like, oh yeah, like that guy's over there, he's got a prosthetic leg and that. And it's like there's still quite a few of us out there with prosthetic legs that are still like we're still elite athletes and we can still do everything.
Put 135 on the bar.
Yeah. Like it is always nice, when you like, especially when you're doing a fully able comp and you're kicking a bit of ass and like doing well. It is always like cool, but it's sort of for me. It's sort of, it's not all about trying to go out there and like, I've got a chip on my shoulder, I'm going to show you fucking blah blah blah. To me, it's more like it's challenging me and bringing the best out of me is what I see it as.
Yeah, awesome. That's massive, bro.
Oh, it's huge, man. It really is. And you are out there proving that just because you got 1 leg. It makes zero difference. Just from me watching, I was like, man, you're an incredible fucking athlete, man. So, and also it's like, you got your daughter now as well. Just the daughter, or you got 2 kids, or?
I've got a little son. Yeah,
son.
just the one.
Close.
Boy.
I fucked that up.
Yeah, 50-50 on that one.
We're going to edit that out. Oh, so you got a son now. And that'd be cool, him growing up, seeing that there's no limitations. You had 1 leg and you're still at the top of your game.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's obviously sort of near having a son now. He's only 6 months old now, so he's still got a little while to go before he's out there doing that stuff. But like, definitely, like that's I think about it all the time, like the examples and sort of stuff I'd like to set for my son, and if I can, if he can look at me and say, look, Dad's out there with 1 leg and he's still out there kicking ass and doing all this stuff. Like it's, to me, if he can look at that and think, hey, like, sort of, it doesn't matter your circumstances or any shit hands you've been dealt, like you still make the most of what you got.
100%.
Like, sort of you the only boundaries are the ones you sort of set yourself, is kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah. I think I saw a news video. I think it was a news video. I might be getting this wrong, but is your partner, what is she doing? Is she, I'm pretty sure I saw her with like a St. George Illawarra jersey on.
Well, she's retired now, sort of retired last year when we fell pregnant to sort of have a baby. But she was a rugby league player as well. She had a better career than I did. She's played like she's played for the Broncos, played for the Dragons, like Queensland, Australia. Like she's a pretty decent league player herself.
Yeah, that's like such a decent set of role models for your boy. Like,
how is she going to take it when your son goes over to join the Warriors? Like, how's that?
Or the All Blacks?
We debate this all the time because like he was born here in Brisbane, so
Yeah.
in her eyes he's an Aussie, and I was like, nah, his dad's a Kiwi.
Once a while, always a while.
Hey, he might pick up an All Blacks jersey. We don't know.
Hey man. Nah, that's sick, man.
How is the family anyway, bro?
Yeah, no, they're going great. Hey, it's definitely been big change having the little baby now. It's sort of definitely comes with its challenges, but it's been unreal. Hey, like we love having the little fella here.
Yeah. They coming over to the States with you?
Nah, not this year. Like, because my partner, she came over with me last year, and I think she was like sort of heavily pregnant, sort of like last year's games. And then we discussed it a few times about coming over this year, and in the end, we decided there's probably be a bit too much for him to come this year. Obviously, just because like they're long days over there. Yeah, like you're there from anywhere from sort of 12 hours a day at the arena itself, sort of through, and so it's a long day for him to be out and about for 12 hours and nowhere really to nap for him and stuff like that. And then you throw in the long flights and everything. It's just it'd be more so be very stressful for my partner having him, like, because she'd be having to take the brunt of it all. Yeah, trying to look after him on her own and while they're out and about, and it just would become a bit too stressful for everyone involved. So we sort of thought they'll stay home this year, and if I'm lucky enough to make it again next year, then we'll all go over as a family, and he'll be a bit older then and can actually sort of see Dad doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bit of incentive to get back next year, mate.
Hard out, because we sort of know to become a CrossFit Games athlete, you have to be real, committed, dedicated, some would say selfish. But having a newborn, like, would you say balance is a word you could use to describe your lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a bit of a juggling act, really. Like I've got to take my hat off to my fiance. Like she's definitely been taken on a lot more of the parenting, sort of to allow me to train and that. Because she obviously still wants to train herself, being an elite athlete as well, and it's sort of tough for her at times because we can't both be training at the same time. One of us has got to be watching the baby while the other's training, and then we sort of try and share it. But like when there's been some rough days or where we're a bit time sensitive, she's been letting me sort of take priority with my training, and she'll take on a bit more of the baby responsibilities, which I'm entirely grateful for, because she's the real MVP of the family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100% right. I think everyone says that. Who does your programming, by the way? What are you on HWPO or?
Yes, I made the switch over to HWPO a little while ago, and more so just to make sure that sort of once this opportunity arose to obviously go over to Vermont and do a bit of training with them, I wanted to make sure I'm following the same programming, doing the same stuff. So beforehand, I've just been following because I've got Beck Glennis as sort of, she's taken on we're sort of training partners, and she's also helping sort of coach me in a way as well. And so she was following the Mayhem programming and the Star Strength stuff, doing a bit of mixture of both.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So that's what we'd been doing. We'd just sort of been bouncing between the two sort of each week, doing bits of each programming. But yeah, the last sort of month and a bit, we've both jumped over to HWPO and following that full time now.
Yeah,
awesome,
sick, man.
Yeah, last year standing on the podium, brought home a bit of silverware. What do you think the difference is between silver and gold, and sort of have you changed your training or anything over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I've definitely obviously like last year, that was with pretty much 12 months CrossFit experience. So another 12 months is definitely I feel like I've sort of developed sort of my skills further as in terms of as a CrossFit athlete. I think I've developed my skills a lot further with another 12 months, and yeah, I've definitely I picked up the training training load a bit more this year, knowing that I need to get that bit fitter, a bit stronger. Like, so I needed to ramp that up a bit, and I've sort of approaching it a lot different this year too. Whereas like last year, I got to Madison sort of 3 days out from when we had to compete, so I was still jet lagged.
Yeah, jet lag, yeah.
I had planned to get in like 1 or 2 sessions to sort of just get the lungs going again. But like by the time I got there, then you've got like registration and check-in one day, and then you got briefing the next day, and then third day you're straight into it. And I was like, the body was feeling horrible. Like, I've just traveled for 36 hours. I'm jet lagged.
You're up at 2 a.m. like, let's go.
So this year I've sort of I've changed up the whole approach. Like I said, like I've got another 12 months of sort of experience under my belt now. I've been training a lot harder, and I'll head over there. Like I said, I'm heading over on Monday, and then I've got 2.5 weeks training at HWPO, and then I think it's only like a three-hour flight from Vermont to Madison. So I'll be getting there not feeling jet lagged. I'll be fresh. I've sort of hopefully in a lot better shape heading into it this year than I was last year. And swimming, I've sort of I'm still a terrible swimmer, but I've
just attach some floaties to your leg, bro, and you should be all right, man. Well, if last year you could get second, feeling like shit off a plane, I think this approach this year is going to give you a better, going to give you the best opportunity to get that top spot, man. Should be good.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does the training look like now compared to you did, your quarterfinals, your semifinals? How does the programming change for you now, like lead up to the games?
So I've just been following, like HWPO have got a games prep program as well. So for 99% of their athletes, they're all in off season now. So there's the HWPO off season programming.
Yep.
But for the small percentage that have made it to the games, there's separate programming, like a separate track for games prep. So I've just been following that.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's just keeping you ramped up. So it's the weights are heavy, the wads are long, it's a lot of sort of fitness. It's keeping you primed sort of for that high level competition, as opposed to the off season track where they're more so like dialing back a bit, starting to focus more technique, more strength building and stuff like that. So the training, like following the games prep training, has been pretty intense. It's been tough some days, like, because it's designed for the full-time athlete, so it's like training twice a day, 3 hours a session type thing. And like I'm still working full-time as well, so I cram in as much as I can. Like most days I'm getting 3 hours a day where I cram in as much as I physically can. And so it makes for some long sort of grueling sessions.
Yeah, man, it sounds like it. Are you in contact with O'Keefe or Fraser during this time, or?
No, it'll be more so when I get over there.
Okay, yeah. Oh, nice, man. Well, you got anything to end on?
No, I'm pretty much good. Yeah.
I didn't give you any warning, but I meant to. What we do at the end of these is we get the guests to write us a workout. It can be something off of your program that you've done recently that will make us hurt. We've had some bad ones. I think Jake Douglas has been the nicest, and he gave us a 40-minute EMOM, if that can give you anything to go off. So throw it over to you. If there's any training piece, it can be long, short, whatever, and we'll do it in the gym and die.
Shit, put me on the spot now.
I know, I meant to give you warning, man.
Actually, I did a piece the other day, which wasn't it wasn't like crazy cardio wise, but it fucking jacked my forearms up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you had to do 3 pegboards.
Yep.
And then rest 30 seconds, and then 10 bar muscle ups, rest 20 seconds, and then a 100-foot sled pull.
Oh yeah.
At the semi-finals weight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then
lose, I think.
And then you rest 3 minutes and do that 3 times.
Okay.
And by
Fuck yeah. That's a forearm
by the-
killer, man.
the end of that, like sort of, it wasn't like my lungs that were gone, but my forearms were like I could barely grip anything. Like with the pegboards and the muscle ups in the sled pulls, like it's just all grip.
Yeah. So 3 peg boards, rest 30 seconds. 10 bar muscle ups, rest 30 seconds.
Rest 20.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Rest 20 seconds.
And how long was the sled pull?
100 foot.
100 foot. And what was the rest after that?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. And then how many rounds?
And 3 rounds of that.
Okay. To be fair, that sounds the most fun out of all of them.
This is a serious question. How do you scale a pegboard?
Well, I'll grab your feet and just have the camera angled up, and fuck, they won't know, man.
Just get the crash mats out.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, we'll find a way of scaling that. Okay, yeah. That one sounds fun. Actually, I'm actually really into that one.
Makes one of us.
Awesome, mate.
Awesome, bro. Hey, is there anyone you wanted to plug or shout out? Any sponsors or anything?
Coaches, whatever.
No, just my sort of main sponsors, Alice KD. They've sort of been with them for about
We came
8
prepared,
years.
bro.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've all got it on.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, no, they're my major sponsor, and Oracle Sports. That's my management. So they're probably the two.
Yeah. Hey, Rogan, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. And
Big time.
it's a great story, by the way. And
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
we'll listen to it. So
And we can't wait to see what you do at the games, mate. It's going to be unreal.
how good, man.
Cheers. Thanks,
Sweet
guys.
as. All right, man. You take it easy, eh?
Cheers, bro.
All right.